Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? What we're going to be talking about today is something, a term, if you will, that is well known in the prepper community, and it is pronounced as TEOTWAWKI, and it is spelled as TEOTWAWKI. Okay. This is, and I'm going to be, how do I put it? This is going to be a discussion that we're going to have, okay, because there's a difference between the TEOTWAWKI and SHTF, all right? So, in a post-apocalyptic scenario, okay, this is what is commonly known as the TEOTWAWKI, okay? It stands for the end of the world as we know it, the zombie apocalypse, the Walking Dead, you know, that type of thing, right? In the early days of the prepping craze from 2009 to 2014 or so on, okay, it was on every prepper's mind, every person of the prepared mind. Okay, this is what was our way of thinking, if you will. All right. So what does it mean? Okay, at its most basic level, the end of the world as we know it. I mean, last man standing, right? It is defined as a complete and utter breakdown of all existing institutions, the governmental, the societal, the political institutions that we rely on to hold our civilization together in a mostly civilized fashion, fail spectacularly, and life becomes Mad Max, all right? Not the new Mad Max that you see. The Mad Max of what the hell is his name? Sean, what's his name? Mad Max. The actor.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, thank you. And Tina Turner, right? The original Mad Max. Okay, and the typical norms of society vanishes. There's no law, there's no nothing. There is no lower class, middle class, upper class. There's no nothing. Okay, contrary to the REM song, it's the end of the world. Okay, nothing. Okay, we won't feel fine. All right. Now, TEOTWAWKI is a catastrophic event resulting in harsh survival conditions for a prolonged period of time. It's different than SHTF. All right. Now, SHTF scenarios are more temporary. Although things get pretty awful for a while, they eventually return to some semblance of normalcy. Examples might be natural disasters like hurricanes, localized EMP strikes, hyperinflation. Many SHTF events strung together might result in a TEOTWAWKI scenario. And the idea of the TEOTWAWKI struck a chord with Americans in particular, and they looked at a steep decline of their home's value, the loss of their jobs, devastation to their hopes of retirement, any savings, and they wondered if the end of the world as they knew it is becoming a reality. So a new surge in prepping consumes us now, as with the supply chain disruptions, remember those with the barges and they were stuck, okay, inflation on everything, and the accompanying fear and uncertainty firmly grips us. So what if the world, as we have always known it, has ended? What? Remember Mr. 19 in 2021 that ushered in TEOTWAWKI? Say what? As humans, we don't care much for uncertainty. Okay, we like knowing what tomorrow will bring, how to plan our weeks, our months. I mean, for crying out loud, most of us have menu boards up on our refrigerators because our kids want to know what's for dinner. All right? But it seems that God or fate or the universe has other plans for us. So, what are some inconvenient truths about TEOTWAWKI? Okay, well, here are just a few of my personal observations and expectations. And let me warn you, it's going to make you uncomfortable. And of course, I could be proved wrong, and I hope I am wrong. But I'll go on. The first one, not everyone's going to make it through. Yikes, I know, I get it. Now, for many, circumstances will trump preparedness, right? Preparedness will cost money. There's no way around that, all right? Now, if you talk about preparedness, you will be ridiculed. It's happened to every single one of us. That's why I've made those videos on how to talk to non-preppers and get them interested or into the prepared mind way without them knowing. You know what I mean? But if you keep your mouth shut, you'll miss out on establishing a support system that could become necessary to survival. So there's no easy call on this quandary. A rural retreat may not save you, as some believe. And stored food, it runs out eventually. Then what? Even the best prepared survivalists, Navy SEALs, they can be brought down by an infected, ingrown toenail. All right? I mean, it can happen. You probably aren't even tough enough for what's coming. None of us are. Think about it. However, you might surprise yourself. Some who survive long term might not be the ones that you actually expect. Gold and silver may be useless if a world currency is established. Keep that in mind. Their use may even be criminalized. All right. So I'm not sure that money will be the answer in that circumstance. So, and that's a really, really tough subject to even touch on right now too, because of the CBDC, UBI, all that stuff. And when the CBDC does go into effect, just remember, all your financial privacy will be gone. And in a time of plenty, it's impossible to imagine the reality of true scarcity. This is why so many people fall into a state of normalcy bias. Survival is easy for armchair quarterbacks. Remember that. All right? So most survivalists and preppers, people of the prepared mind, we are overly optimistic regarding how much food to store because we're just not sure, right? We have inventory systems. We do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. But what scenarios do we actually plan for? And what are our ability to survive off-grid? And a lot of us, we also tend to put our trust and our emphasis on things that can be purchased because it's easy, right? Rather than focusing on learning skills, gaining knowledge. Remember, I've told you before, knowledge is power. So the TEOTWAWKI will change the way that you and your children and your grandchildren will live forever. Remember that. The minute you bug out, which should be the last thing you do, your chances of reaching your retreat destination are slim. Therefore, how survival friendly is your location when you think of end of the world as we know it, right? Do you live in a state where survival in hard times will be easy or will they be impossible? So, we might be kidding ourselves here if we think that our hidden caches won't be found by others, or alternatively, you might forget where you hid them. So that's just something else that we have to think about, right? I mean, just think of it as proof, right? How many buried treasures are actually lost to history despite maps indicating their locations? I mean, that's just something else to think about. I mean, you won't know if you are actually ready for TEOTWAWKI until you are in the middle of it. After that, it will probably just be like a day-to-day survival. And ultimately, a too powerful government will be the biggest threat to our survival. Either a totalitarian government or smaller fiefdoms, or where like might make right, or you know what I mean? Life will become cheap. Free time will become a thing of the past if there's a long-term like power outage, because the bulk of your day will be spent scrambling to survive in one way or another. Damage to our power grid will bring about TEOTWAWKI, no doubt about it. I mean, wondering, you know, how you might survive the early days after an EMP attack. You know, there's just so many things to think about here. I mean, there's nothing wrong with preparing for natural disasters, all right? But if you're not ready for a collapse of the American economy or a similar worst case scenario, then you're not ready. Therefore, maybe you should consider if you have a skill that would bring in money or that you could use for bartering. The more sources of incomes that you have, the better your hedge against unemployment or a complete economic collapse. Tough times will threaten even the best of marriages, the closest relationships, friendships. Sadly, children will bear the brunt of much of this, and growing your own food is going to be a bigger challenge than you ever thought was possible. Savvy, desperate people will be able to easily identify plants found in the typical backyard garden. Dealing with human waste and trash will become your new part-time job. You'll discover exactly what you are capable of when your family is threatened. Formerly strong, capable people will escape to their new reality through addictions. Protecting and nurturing close family ties will become one of the most important things that you ever do. Don't count on help from emergency services, all right? Assistance will be limited and eventually unavailable as first responders turn their attention to their own families, their own homes. Trees in urban and suburban areas will rapidly disappear during the course of winter as people hunt for firewood to burn. Fruit trees may fall victim as well, despite their food producing ability. Once the obvious sources of firewood are gone, as with other scarce resources, other sources are fair game here. And this applies to animals as well. All right, so there's so many things to think about here. There really is. So are these inconvenient truths? Yeah. Are these scary? Yeah. But I think this is all something that we should be aware of and prepare for. All right. All right, guys, I will see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless.